You have to commit to a process, and the process only reveals itself to you at the end of the fact. Stepping on stage, you never know how you're going to look until you step on stage. You could look the best 2 days out, you could look the worst 2 days out, but then you could step on stage and everything could be totally different. There's so many things and tools that are used to get in shape for a prep that sometimes those things, although super productive and beneficial in order to get you in shape, if miscalculated, can cause the opposite effect. And when I say the opposite effect, I don't mean make you not lean, I mean make it actually troublesome for you to be able to bring life back to your body. So I'm like, let's not change too many variables, let's change one variable at a time. So the only variable I decided to change was nutrition. Cardio stayed the same, supplements stayed the same, training stayed the same. The only thing that then changed was the amount of calories going into the body. In the particular scenario that was the Detroit Pro and the Arnold Classic, that was the situation. But is that a standard occurrence, or is that something that's occurred because of leading into the show, decisions were made to get you into that position? Now, I believe in what I've just said there. I think everybody's predictable if you have a good trend on what's happening to it and you have the information available. I don't think anybody just suddenly surprises you. I don't think it just suddenly changes. I think it's the ability to be able to read someone's physique and understand what's going on, which is difficult, especially if you're first time with that person. So yes, in this situation, having to eat like incredible amounts of food was what was necessary in order to get that kind of job done to the degree it was, which was basically just some sort of redemption, try and bring the physique back alive. Now, that wouldn't be the case if management from myself and Stefan on the way down was a little bit more, basically just a better approach, which you don't know is of a better approach unless you do the approach. Commitment obviously is a really big important part of the bodybuilding. In this situation, my body being where it wasn't ideal, but it's what you have to play with. So you have to make decisions and choices depending on what is given to you at that point in time. Now, you boys know I had to eat like a horse. And now, why would that occur? Now, that's going to occur because of many reasons. Obviously, you are super lean, you're show ready, you've got a big frame, but also depending on, how much assistance you have in regards to metabolic rate. There's so many things and tools that are used to get in shape for a prep that sometimes those things, although super productive and beneficial in order to get you in shape, if miscalculated, can cause the opposite effect. And when I say the opposite effect, I don't mean make you not lean, I mean make it actually troublesome for you to be able to bring life back to your body. So I think this situation was one of those where mismanagement, because of not having any experience or prior experience to this approach from myself and my coach Stefan, is what led to me having to do this for this show. So it's not an ideal scenario, but again, like I say, you have to do what you have to do. So if any of you that aren't aware, it was pretty much a case of almost like doubling my intake of food, which was the only fix I could really do, because what I didn't want to do at the time when I'm in a prep is start adjusting all the things that are set. So whether it be supplements, they're all set. So I'm like, let's not change too many variables, let's change one variable at a time. So the only variable I decided to change was nutrition. Cardio stayed the same, supplements stayed the same, training stayed the same. The only thing that then changed was the amount of calories going into the body. So there's probably a few approaches that could have been done at the time. Another approach could have been, let's start to restrict some of these supplements that are assisting you in fat loss. But then you just have to choose a direction, and I chose the direction of food. Just because of the worry of like having a rebound perhaps. Sometimes, you hear some stories, especially talking to people who are been in the game a long time. When you take out certain supplements or reduce certain things that were assisting you, you might notice, again, the opposite starts to occur. So maybe even accumulation of body weight for the wrong reasons. So just trying to be as clever as you can with the situation that's in front of you and trying to get the best out of what you can. And that's kind of how we found ourselves in that position where we just kind of had to eat. It's not ideal. I would not recommend it for anybody because it's not sustainable. Because although it sounds pretty excellent to any of you that are watching this, oh yeah, I get to eat loads getting ready for a show and I can have meals out. If you're a disciplined individual and you love bodybuilding because you love discipline and you love being in a position where you're kind of restricted, because that's the whole point, is it's meant to train your brain and your physique and your personality to be one that is committed to less. Like, you're not someone that necessarily wants to have loads of things. You're trying to limit and minimalize, because you're trying to like clean out. It's like the bodybuilding, like you're trying to clean out your thoughts. You're trying to be in control, and you're trying to manage fewer variables so that you have control over your existence. That's what bodybuilding is. It's a control thing. So that when it's a little bit out of control and you're splurging and you're eating and whatnot, it goes very much against the grain of why you got into bodybuilding. You're trying to live like this monk lifestyle where you're like, I don't want to have to have access to all these things, because I want to live a peaceful existence where I only have access to what's necessary. So it's kind of, again, like counterintuitive to the mindset, and it plays this game. It plays a game in your mind, because you're like, shit, I'm being a pig, or I'm going against what I believe in. And that's why it's partially not sustainable from a mental perspective, but also from a physical one. If you kept taking the same supplements and you kept eating like that, you know, the amount of kind of processed food or high calorie dense food that you're eating, long term, it's not going to be very good for you, because it's going to be a lot of trans fats and saturated fats and just basically macronutrients that are not beneficial, not macronutrients, sorry, void nutrients that are not going to be good for your body in the long run. So you don't want to find yourself in that position for too long. And that's that. So right now, like, obviously, on the back of all this, now I've made some adjustments to kind of limit those things that are causing my metabolism to be, you know, fired up, amped up, and getting a grip on food again, because you don't want to build a bad relationship with food. So that's that. Again, the result, listen, for the situation we were in, like where we came out of a hole for the Arnold, to come back and get like third at a really, really good pro show with 15 great bodybuilders in it, and you know, William Bonac being two-time Arnold Classic champion and second place at the Olympia, Sasan being second place in the Cali Pro, top 5 New York Pro, top 5 Spain, arguably one of the best British bodybuilders in history when it comes to, like, if you look at who's won the British Championships. And then for me to land in that third spot and be compared with them to a degree, I can't really ask for more, because I was kind of pissing against the wind. You know, as we say in England, like it took a lot. It took a lot to like get through that prep. Not because it was a strain physically, it was because it was a strain of management and juggling and being responsive, constantly trying to respond to what I was seeing happen in front of us. There was no smooth days. There was no like day where it's like, okay, this is the plan today. We know that we can do this for the next few days and everything's going to run accordingly. It was literally wake up, what's going on, constantly evaluating, and that's tiring. And don't get me wrong, some people love that part of prep. I do, but it just got to a point in this prep where it was like there was so much management, so much guessing, so much trying to work out that, again, if it was to go on for a prolonged period of time, it would definitely be something that you would end up resenting a lot of why you do what you do. So with that being said, that was the Trip Pro. It was. I'm very happy we've got the trophy here at the minute, and to come away with a trophy, even for me, is like a real victory. I said to Yannicka, obviously I won $5,000 or whatever it is, which is nice. But I did say, like, if I was to have the trophy or the money, for me right now, the trophy always means more, because of what it symbolises, because of that whole prep where I, like I said, feel like I was pissing in the wind and struggling. Money comes and goes, but trophies seem to be like a real, even though they're not worth much really, to you they are, because they're just a moment in time captured in a physical form. So yeah, really, really chuffed with that. And I'll be back on stage at some point. I'm not too sure when. I spoke to Branch today, and Branch, I can always guarantee when I talk to Branch that I'm going to come away feeling like whatever I've heard is the right thing to hear for me. And, you know, his advice really was like, would you put yourself on stage if you, in your heart of hearts, don't think you're going to be your best? And I said, no, not really. Like, I would rather, you know, regroup and go back when I'm feeling like I can deliver. And he said, well, there's your answer. And he said he was the same. You know, he used to do 2 shows at the beginning of the year. He said he used to do the Arnold, and then he'd pick like the Arnold Australia or something. And then he said his body after that would be like, fuck that. And then he'd go back later in the year, he'd do the Arnold, not the Arnold, sorry, the Olympia. And then he'd pick maybe one of the European shows or something like that after. And he said that was his lot. And he said, your body's very like mine, James. So, you know, just going to say what I think. And yeah, so I will be on stage at some point. Might be one of the ones you've heard I'm going to be on for. I don't know, but I've got to be honest with myself, and I have to be selfish. I've got a lot happening in life at the minute. Yannika's, you know, heavily pregnant, and I've got a baby on the way, and I'm far from done. I'm really, really happy with, like I say, how the show went, but I know I can bring something even better. Just got to iron a few things out. Again, sorry for waffling on, and I always do waffle on, but I just tried to lay it all out there because hopefully someone relates to some of the stuff they hear here. And if you're feeling pressured to do stuff because everybody else says you should, all I'm trying to get across in this video is that maybe go and speak to someone who you really find credible. And if they are, they're probably going to tell you what Branch told me, and that's do what's right for you, because that way you're never doing what's wrong. And that's it, really. So, yeah. We were just saying there, for example, if I couldn't commit to a show to compete as an athlete, I would almost feel just as good if I could commit to a show as an ambassador or a guest pose or work in a booth. Something that's still bodybuilding oriented, so I still feel like I have my value. Because I feel like they both breathe positivity towards bodybuilding. So like ESN next week, for example, in Cologne, Germany, just being there and like being able to be available on booths and shake hands and stuff, I know that that's just almost in today's bodybuilding as beneficial as bodybuilding itself. You know what I mean? Whereas I know that back in the day, bodybuilding was purely just, let's get on stage. Pictures are being taken after this show for the next 6 months of your content. Now your content is what you're doing now. So I feel like if you can tick a box on either the show itself or some appearances, I think you're doing a good job as a bodybuilder. So I definitely feel comfortable as long as I do something. So, you know, if there's a month where I'm like, oh, there's nothing actually going on in bodybuilding, but then we have an opportunity to do a Gasp host at one of the gyms in like where I live, or I get to go to Sweden, just something, you're like, you know what, yeah, I'm actually worth my weight in bodybuilding, you know, so that's kind of, you know, even something like today, just walking through the gym, I haven't made a massive effort today, let's be honest, because I've been getting treatment. But the few people that you shake their hand and say hello, and then they tell you when they last saw you and how are you and well done for the show and that, and then you say you're looking good. Like there was a guy that came into the posing room, big chap, German pro, I think maybe, huge. I was obviously really tired getting off the table, but I was like, you know what? He's huge, he makes me look small, he wants to get a picture and a video for his YouTube. It's the least I can do. And after he was like, so thank you for your time, man, really, really appreciate it. And that's cool, man. He's gonna take that content back to Germany, where he's speaking very positively of a peer, like myself. It can only do good for me as well, because he's saying how I'm a nice guy and gave him my time. And then if people see him through me, then it's only going to benefit him as well, because they'll be like, who's this massive bodybuilder? So it's just like everybody can benefit from this. And that's the one thing with social media that I think is good. I know it gets on our, as we say, it gets on our tits sometimes. It's, if you use it wisely, it does have a really high level of benefit towards growing the things you love, and bodybuilding is certainly something that benefits from it if the people that are doing the content have positive things to say. And that's, I suppose that's it, isn't it? The quality of the information, quality of the content. If you're positive, then it's going to be positive. If you want to use it as a negative platform where you start ripping people's physiques apart and that, I don't think you're really welcome in the industry. I think it's kind of like stay in the corner. But, you know, shaking hands, telling someone that they've done a really good job or they're looking great and their potential's good, that's never going to be a bad thing, man. That's always going to be a good thing. So that's my opinion on like the social media aspect.